This is Matthew J. Peters of the Preeminent Podcast, and thank you so much for joining me. It has been quite a while. Actually, it's been over 7 months since I have had my last podcast. What I'm about to talk about today is about my personal life or my family life. I never talk about this. I really am guarded with my kids and, want them to just have their own life without being the social media object of my marketing or anything like that. But today I want to talk about something different. I stopped the Preeminence podcast a while back because I was not feeling preeminent and I didn't want to put on any airs. I didn't want to be fake about anything. I really wanted to be in that preeminent zone all the time, always focusing on excellence, the pursuit of mastery. And sometimes when your relationship is failing, you feel like you're a failure. And for any of you that have had struggles, challenges, or you feel like your relationship is failing, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. So 2 days ago, I wrote a post, and it was a post for Facebook. It was basically my coming out saying that I am divorced. Matter of fact, I've been divorced for quite a while, but I hadn't said anything publicly. There was a lot of shame in that. I grew up in the Christian evangelical church, great church. I was afraid of what people would say, how they'd judge me, how I'd be ostracized, how people would want to fix me or repair our relationship. And as two adults, we had made our decisions ourselves. So I want to read to you this post and see what kind of conversation comes out of this. The post I did the other day, I think struck a chord with people because it really came from an honest place of working on the relationship, seeking harmony, seeking peace, seeking grace, and moving forward as adults. So I'm going to read this, and I hope this serves you. This is on my Facebook page, March 11th. I posted at 12:35 a.m. I recently had a client of mine take me aside and ask me, "Are you single now?" I said, "Yes." Actually, it's been about 7 months since Fiona and I have separated. When our family and a few close friends heard, they were sad, sorry, and wanted to know how they could help. I really didn't have anything to say to them at the time other than, "Thank you, I'm okay." Neither of us got lawyered up. There has been no hate, no screaming matches, just two adults who have chosen two different paths. We agreed to move forward and have worked it out with the children. Our relationship is amiable, supportive, and our kids are doing well. From our children, we've had no outbursts, no fits of sadness or anger, no acting out. Our kids are looking to us and seeing how we're acting. We made sure we answered their big questions. Are they loved? Yes. Are they safe? Yes. Do they still have a mom and dad? Yes. Nobody left or abandoned anyone. We are now and always will be a family. I will always be their dad. She will always be their mother. We had approached it in a way where the kids remain being the kids and the adults remain the adults. We let them know that mom and dad are handling it. They are in the loop at a kid's level, not at an adult's level. They know what's what. They don't have to worry about what's going to happen next. Our communication with them is open, and they see there are no fights and no bad-mouthing the other. We are intentionally creating harmony. As it has been for the last 7 months, Fiona and I each invest time with the children every day. We consciously chose what we wanted our lives after divorce to look like. We didn't have to do divorce like anyone else we knew. We could be different. We help each other out with the kids' appointments, school, days off, even with taxes. There's no animosity, no hate, no rage. There never was. I'm posting this for all my friends who may have been wondering. I'm posting this for people who have been considering divorce and think that it has to be a battle. Don't get me wrong, I still hold that divorce is the last option after everything else, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be a war. There can be healing. It does take two mature adults agreeing as they move forward to treat each other as they would want to be treated, to extend grace, and to be on the same page in raising the kids. I can also appreciate the difficulty that can arise for everyone when one adult wants harmony and the other doesn't. It really takes two. It takes work. It takes communication and respect of the other. It takes listening when emotions and old patterns arise, but the work is worth it. The biggest challenge I had was telling my parents and our kids. For a long time, I feared that it would destroy my children's lives and my parents would somehow disown me. After the initial shock from our children, we talked a lot, answered their questions, and we all went out to lunch together. It was surreal, but it was healing. A lot of questions from the kids followed, as did thoughtful answers. What I received from my parents, brother, and sister was maturity, acceptance, love, peace, support, listening, non-judgment, and understanding. Even from my mother-in-law, who had just seen the kids before the judge's final decree. She sent me a birthday card saying that they love me, that I am welcome to come visit whenever I like, and that I will always be respected as the father of their grandchildren. Such love. I misjudged everyone. I thought I knew what my family would say, what they would do, how they could become reactive or shut me out when they heard. What I found was acceptance of me as a person. What I found was acceptance and desire for continued inclusion of Fiona from my family. So much of what I based my decision on, or rather putting off of decisions, was based out of fear of something that wasn't even true. It was a false assumption. Our assumptions can cost us dearly: our health, our happiness, our connection to others, and to our true self. I played scenarios over and over in my head, assuming I knew how people would react. Would I lose love? Would I be cast out? I found that people love, people forgive, and eventually people move on with their lives. So there was 160 people who liked and loved and were surprised. I'm looking at the emojis here. And 64 comments. A lot of people this resonated with. And that's what happens. What I found in posting is when you give a voice or actions to the unspoken, when you live in such a way that you're giving that space to the things that people don't talk about because there's shame or guilt around them, that you're including other people, that they feel like someone is stepped out, and it opens up a space for them to step out. And sometimes it's not publicly. Maybe it's just for them to make different choices, to finally make a choice instead of putting them off. And there's some thoughtful comments on here. There's, like I said, there's several, but Jared says, from personal experience, you don't have to live together to be kind to each other or to raise kids together. In some situations, living together makes it harder. Let's see, Anthony says, thank you for sharing your experience. It's reassuring to hear that not all breakups need to be messy and love can still win out. Katie says, being honest and non-judgmental are priceless qualities. Zoe says, thank you for sharing the light and how it can be. Thank you for acknowledging it takes two to want it to be this way. That's really powerful. I have a friend here from my church. Matter of fact, I want to say that I have a lot of friends on Facebook that like my posts quite a bit. Back from Madison, the church I used to attend. I posted this and really it's been radio silence. I think they don't know what to say because the script is, you're getting a divorce. Let me help you fix it. Let's help you, fix that marriage. Let's save that marriage. Or the other thing is, oh, you poor soul. Can I make you a casserole? Can I, I know they mean well, but the thing is, it's a script. They have had zero investment in my relationship over the last 20 years. And all of a sudden they hear that there's trouble and some people feel like they should have been there. They should have said something. They should have recognized it. And other people will feel like they are now a part of it. They need to be part of that solution. And I was there. I used to think that. When my sister got a divorce, I was like, how do we fix this? That bastard, what did he do to you? And really, we're never invested in that the other people's relationship. And then we hear that there's any kind of trouble and we think that either we haven't been paying attention, we feel bad or guilt because we weren't active in that person's life, or B, we feel like it's our job to come in as some kind of superhero and fix it. But this is from Crystal. Crystal was in our church, and Crystal's husband was actually played keyboards on one of my albums that I recorded. She says, wow, much love to you and Fiona. I was afraid of my friends' and family's reaction too when Chris and I divorced. God eventually showed me that the guilt I had carried from thinking he was angry, he meaning God, was angry with me, and that I failed was the greatest issue of all. God showed me love the entire way, but my mind kept on grieving my mistakes. But over time, I healed. Glad you were shown love from family and that you are choosing to work it out together as a team. That's showing God's love and a wonderful example for your children. So many people that are afraid of divorce and what's going to do to their children, it's really when there's a battle. And I'm not playing armchair therapist here. I'm just telling you my experience. I had, there's a gentleman that is a teacher of the Parent Talk system. Check it out. His name is Chick Moorman, ChickMoorman. Chick Moorman is a linguist. He is fantastic with personal power language, and he has a system called Parent Talk. And really what he had done through some of the teachers he had trained and that are my friends, they really helped me frame the discussions with their children and keeping kid talk, and parent talk. Really just keeping them separate so the kids never feel like now they have to parent the parent. Now they are the ones that have to bring happiness to the parents to step in and somehow lead. That's not their place. But for us as parents to talk with our kids at a kid level and let them know they will always be loved. I will always be their dad. Fiona will always be the mom. That they are safe. They will always have things taken care of. And since things were interesting for Fiona and I over the last couple of years, I said it's kind of going to be like what has been over the last year, but I'm going to be living in a different place. So as we worked it out, Fiona and I see the children every day. I mean, literally 7 days a week, I see the children. Fiona sees the children. We work together as a team on raising the children. Of course, there's going to be some differences. I mean, you have differences when you're married. You have differences over the 3, 5, 10 years you're together on everything. So to think that there's some magic that's going to happen now that you're not living in the same house, it does take some pressures off, but then there's other things that arise. But when you have two people, it's like, you know what? We want the best for our kids, and we get to design our future because those kids turn 18, they're out of the house, they're moving on with their lives, but we'll always be their mom and dad. Weddings, funerals, their wins, their challenges, we're both going to be there for them. So how do we want to move forward as adults and not make the rest of our lives a battlefield? So when you're talking with your kids, I'll just speak for myself. When I talk with my kids, when Fiona talked with our kids, we really just want them to see by how we act and what we say that things are all right. If I were to say, well, your mom does this and it's your mom's fault this, or she said the opposite, she said, well, your dad did this and this. No, there's none of that. How is that going to help our future? How is that going to help our kids? If they know mom is talking bad about dad and dad's talking bad about mom, we just made an agreement. You know what? We're just going to live our lives and both be adults and not bring the kids into this stuff. What is it going to serve them? So the kids knew the basics, like I said, that they're loved and that they still have a mom, they still have a dad. No one's abandoning anybody. No one's leaving anybody. And the way we worked it out, this is just, we scheduled something with the judge. The judge signed off saying, yes, this is the child time is 50-50 and as close to that as he can get. And so that's our fallback plan if there's any challenges. So we've already agreed on that. But what we've agreed to do is the children go to school. I pick them up from school. I make sure that they have had dinner. I make sure their homework is done. And we do a little family activity, me and the two kids. She brings them to school in the morning. And then that cycle happens over and over again. And on the weekends, I'll spend a couple hours with the kids on Saturday, spend a couple hours with the kids on Sunday. Sometimes the kids will come with me in the afternoons. We just work it out. We're not stuck on having to stick to a specific schedule. We're serving each other. We're serving the kids. We want what is in the best interest of the kids, and we have a long-term family legacy outlook. Again, sometimes it may sound strange, but sometimes we'll do those things, and sometimes we celebrate together. We celebrate birthdays together. We celebrate our children's wins together. You know, you can still do things together, maintaining the boundaries, obviously, but knowing that the kids are supported by their mom and dad, that there isn't a battle going on. I've known too many families where there's a battle and it sucks. It's hell for the kids. It's hell for the kids. That may sound really weird to people, but one of my things I totally love is harmony. Some people will think it's a weakness, is like, oh, you're trying to please people. It's like, no, harmony. Think of the value of peace in your life. Think of the value of harmony in your life. And to say it's not relationship, harmony in your body, with your health, knowing you have harmony there, harmony in your job, harmony in serving your clients or customers, harmony in your relationship with the divine, God, the universe, consciousness. You have disharmony in any of that, you're not going to be feeling fulfilled. So why would it be any different when a relationship changes from being husband and wife to now being friends? Why would you not choose friendship? Why would you not choose to forgive? Especially my Christian friends and other religions, that once you ask for forgiveness, that you're forgiven. Move on. How is the past going to influence your future? That's like getting in a boat and being out in the water and looking at the wake, thinking the wake is steering where you're going. If you know what a boat is, let's say you're going on a motorboat, you're going forward, and the wake is the water that you splash up behind you. That's your past. But to think that wake is going to control where you're going, it has no influence in that. But if I make my past my future, and if I continue my past into my future, and I keep those patterns and keep anger, resentment, guilt, all those things, what kind of future can I build? I'm interested in creating a brilliant future. I have no interest in creating a dark future, a dim future, or even a bright future. Most people go for a bright future. This isn't a futuring podcast, but a brilliant future is, what can we create out of what we have, and what can we imagine for us and for everyone we come in contact with? To me, I get one life that I know of. I got this one right here. I don't know if there's any other lives. I've got this one. What do I want to do with it? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my kids, with my former spouse? I don't like the word ex. I say former. We completed that relationship. I have friends that say it's not a divorce, it's a completion. Because you're never divorced with them. You're still in that relationship. We completed that husband and wife relationship, and we're moving on to the next phase of our relationship, which is friends, which is mom and dad of our children. And that'll never change. So you get to choose your future. I don't really care who wronged who. Imagine if there's violence, that would be different. There was no violence. There was no violent arguments or anything like that with Fiona and I. Very happy that never happened. For some people, that's not the case. For some people, they let they put off their relationship changing drastically or completing until the point where it has to. There's an emergency event. There's a crossroads that's like, that's enough. I have to get out of here. I'm not safe. Or if you let it get to that point, that's probably too long. And as I say in the post, it's like divorce is the last resort. But I put off divorce way too long because I was afraid of what people would think. I was afraid of lost love. I was afraid of what my children would do. Would they act out? Would they become miscreants? Were they going to have a life afterwards, or are they going to be broken people? I had so much fear around it that I put it off for years. Years. If you're in a blah relationship, find a therapist, find a counselor, work on it. Go to a weekend to remember or something like that so you can work on it, or don't work on it. But to just live in blah because then you have somebody, at least I have them. Well, at least they're there. At least they're good watching the kids when I'm busy. At least I have someone that I know if I get sick, they're going to be there for me. Boy, that's just such a mediocre, dim, blah existence. Why not grow with that person? Why not thrive with them? Why not dream with them? Why not create something beautiful and amazing together? Because you can. You don't have to have a blah relationship. That's something you are choosing to do right now. I'm going to read a couple more comments here because I thought there's so many people that this brought up that conversation for them. A lot of times we just don't talk about it because we have to show everybody that, hey, we've got our act together. When I'm talking about preeminence, I'm expected to be pursuing perfection, right? There is no perfection. There's pursuit and there's reality. The reality is there's some parts are messy. If you're going to be pursuing excellence, there's going to be a lot of hell you're going through. It doesn't matter if people think you've already made it. It's just hell's different. It looks different. Your challenges get bigger, but you get bigger. So Naomi says, sorry to hear about your news, but I'm sure you'll navigate this path with grace and dignity for all involved. I went through a similar experience many years ago, and my daughter has grown up always feeling loved and safe. It is very possible and conscious, deliberate choice that is empowering and respectful for all involved. This is something that happens. There's a gentleman on here, that very interesting guy. I got to know him a few years ago. His name is Pastor Patrick. Pastor Patrick has a very interesting past. He used to own a dance club in like across the street from Club 54 in the 1970s. I think 1970s, 80s. Was in the Marine Corps, and now he is a pastor of, I believe, a Unitarian church. And when I first met him, he really challenged me about some of my thoughts about God and about what God wants for us and everything. And I was very adamant in my beliefs, and I said, you're wrong. And I made him feel like he was wrong. And one of the things he had said is he got divorced, and his new wife and his former wife and her husband, the four of them went on trips together. And I was like, what? That is so wrong. It was like, how is that possible? It's because you're adults and you don't have to live by the rules that other people said. If your parents got divorced and there was anger and there was hatred and there was, trying to sabotage the other and get the kids to not like the other one, that is just stupid. I'm sorry, I rarely say stupid, but that is just stupid. It's like taking poison hoping the other person's going to die. Literally, you're poisoning the rest of your life by doing that. If someone has hurt you, tremendously hurt you, you can have a barrier. You can definitely have boundaries. You don't go back there. You can forgive to the point you can, and you make the best of it. It does take two to want this. But if you have one, sometimes one will do 80%, the other will do 20%. Sometimes that's what it works out to be. You do your part, and it does not mean they have to be someone who hurt you has to be your best friend. I'm not saying that. Some people said that they felt it. If you're struggling with your spouse or significant other, people feel it. It's good for you to either address it with your friends like I did just a couple of days ago, or address the challenges and just work it out and take your relationship to the next level. Nancy says, what a beautiful and heartfelt way of handling and communicating this life transformation. I'm not surprised. So she's just giving me kudos there. Sarah says, thank you for sharing your uncoupling. That's another way of saying a divorce or completion of a marriage. Thank you for sharing your uncoupling. This is what I want. And I'm holding the vision of a healthy, harmonious outcome where I know I can no longer stay in fear of a man who wants the battle and the drama, and hope he and I can do this as graciously as you and your former wife have. Yeah, I know sometimes there's a battle. And if one person is wanting the battle, wants the drama, and the other one wants to just have peace and to move forward. I hear so many horror stories, and it's really sad to me because that just your whole future changes when you have when it's based around anger, when it's based around someone's guilting you or manipulation, and the different forms of violence. There's lots of different forms of violence. If you're in a relationship and it's not working out for you, get help now so you're not in this blah for another 3, 5, 10 years, 20 years. There are a lot of people who are in a relationship because they're afraid of being alone. There's a lot of people that are alone because they're afraid of being in a relationship. What is right for you? What do you want? So many people are in a relationship, they don't know what they want. So I implore you to make a decision and get off the fence. Because so many of us are living on the fence in so many different ways. It's not just in our personal relationship. But how are you on the fence on your relationship right now, in your relationship right now? There's a great movie I love from years ago called The Shawshank Redemption. And there is a character Red played by Morgan Freeman. And towards the end, he says, get busy living or get busy dying. And I love that because it was, you make that decision, you put your stake in the concrete and say, this is where I stand. Or you move on. Go all in or go all out. You know, you have to either be completely involved in something or you have to be out of something saying, thank you, I'm no longer to take part in that. If you're the one making all the investment and the other person is not making that investment, if your two versions of the future and what you want to do with your life are so vast, it could happen in a moment, it can happen over years or decades. Really assess that. Get back together with that person and say, hey, we have two different lives going on here. What do we need to do to solve this? How can we solve this? In the Bible, the book of Revelation 3:15 and 16 talks about being either hot or cold. Being hot or cold. And a lot of times people think, well, hot is being all in, cold is being all out. But in the scripture, really, it was like in that time, the hot water was for healing. You know, you'd soak in this hot water spring or something. And cold was refreshing. You know, it was refreshing after a long journey. So be either refreshing or healing or get out. Lukewarm had no place. It's great to set your boat on and go across the water for transportation, but it wasn't good for ingesting. Yet so many of us are living a lukewarm life. We have lukewarm relationships, lukewarm business, lukewarm outlook on our future. And, you know, where we're hot or we're cold, both those qualities are valuable, but lukewarm is not. There's nothing lukewarm about preeminence. There's nothing preeminent about being lukewarm in anything, any area of your life. You have to be pursuing mastery in anything you do. And some people think, well, that's mastery in my craft. That's mastery in my body, my diet, my exercise. But they don't think about mastery in their relationship. How can I be so focused and so on board with this person that the two of us are on the same page and the same wagon, go in the same direction? So think about things like, how can I communicate even more clearly than I already am? I found so many times they say, yeah, money is one of the reasons why people get divorced. But communication about money, communication about your children, communication about what your vacations are going to be, communication about so many other things in life. How can I be even more clear in my communication with my significant other than I already am now? That opens up so many possibilities. That opens the door up for you to do the work. Or how can I listen even better than I already am to their needs? How can I listen even more? Give yourself credit. You've been listening. But at the same time, there's always room for improvement. And then how can I make decisions even faster and with more conviction and clarity than I already am? How can I make those decisions even faster? You got to get off the fence. You know, Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid says, walk right side road safe, walk left side road safe, walk in the middle, squish like grape. So many times we're walking in the middle because we don't want to offend anybody. They say that the divorce rate in the United States is right around 50 to 60%. So think about this. I'm going to get into this relationship where I have a 50% chance of it not working out. I don't have any plan other than I just am in love. 50% divorce rate. I have to ask you a question. Out of the other 50 that are together, how many are happy? How many have a plan for a future that includes both of them? Now we're going to wait until the kids are out of the house and then we're going to split. or they don't know what their friends would say, or they don't know what what would happen to our kids. Oh my gosh, let's stay together for the kids. And later on, we'll tell them that we stayed together through all the pain and all the torture because of them. How is that love? How are you loving your children? How are you setting them up to be free, sovereign individuals when you're saying, I went through all this pain because of you? That's not fair to them. That's not fair to your significant other. That's not fair to you. You need to move on, right? You need to move on together, move on apart. But that 50% that are still staying together, what percentage of them are miserable? What percentage of them are just in this mediocre existence? Literally roommates. So many of you listening to this right now are roommates with a contract. And it's like, oh man, if we break this contract, the finances, it's going to screw up everything. So it's about the money again, isn't it? It's about the money why you break up. It's about money why you don't break up. Some people want to stay together because they're afraid of being alone. Some people are staying alone because they don't want to be together. They don't want to go through that pain again. But if you were to take out all your excuses of, I don't know what my friends would say. I don't know what my church would say. My church, synagogue, or mosque, they're against this. I don't know what would happen to my children. I don't know what my parents would say, what my grandparents would say, what they would say about work. Or my job has something to do with being, with relationships. I'm a coach. I'm a life coach. I can't have a divorce or another divorce. You seriously invest first. Get the help first. But if you've been on the fence, make that decision strong. It's like, screw it. I'm going to go all in on this relationship, and I'm going to do my best for a year, for 2 years, for 6 months, whatever it is. And I've done that. I've said, I'm going to go in this for another length of time. I'm going to go in this for another length of time. Full in. And if it's not reciprocated, at some point you got to say, okay, this is futile. If you have one person doing, and I'm not saying this is my situation, but I know of some situations where it's 90% I'm doing the work, 10% they're receiving, and they're just being themselves, or they're actually going downhill because they see you enabling them all the time. Why should they change? You're doing all the work. If you feel like you're doing that, pull back, hold your position, hold your boundaries, and say, I don't deserve anything less than this. Be fair to them, be fair to your kids if you have them, be fair to yourself. But really make that decision. And if the divorce rate goes from 50 to 70%, I can guarantee it's going to go back down. It's going to go back down to 40, 30, 20% because people are going to be in marriage for the correct reasons. All these things, we give these excuses for why we got into the relationship. We can go back and say, well, I was young. Well, the situation was different back then. I have a great uncle who got married after meeting someone right before World War II. They were together for like 50 years and then got a divorce. And then he met the love of his life at like 70 something. It's crazy, but you know what? How many of us are in a relationship way too long because we're afraid of the pain? But if we're realistic about it, we're feeling the pain already. We're feeling the pain every day. Get off the fence. That's where the pain is. You step on one side or the other, there's going to be initial pain. There's going to be consequences for any of your actions. But I suggest that you get together with people who are supportive of you and what you want to do. And you're also going to have friends that are going to say, man, let's fix this. Let's go to, I know this counselor, or they'll have an intervention, or they will talk you out of it. Make sure whatever you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't make the divorce the excuse, because there's people who get a divorce and then they get married again, then they get married again. One of my friends, he was the fourth husband, and she's been married 8 times. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but just there's a common denominator here. Go all in or go all out. For me, I'm all in. I'm all in. Be all in your future. Find somebody. If it's not the person you're with, find somebody who's all in a future you love to create together. And as an adult, as someone with an experience of decades, or a decade, or 5 years, or whatever, however long your relationship lasted or has lasted, and you are ready to leave, but you're just hanging on because you're afraid, you're scared, get over it. Get over the fear, make some hard decisions, and all of your joy is on the other side of your hard decisions. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but your joy is going to unfold after that because you're going to get congruent with yourself finally. You're going to get congruent with other people finally. You're going to tell people what you truly want, who you truly are, without putting on any masks. I am not a therapist. I just have my experience. You have your experience, and I'm just trying to help you make a decision to find even more happiness than you already have. If you're in a relationship with somebody, you've had happiness. You've had a lot of fun together, and there's been down times. Just make sure you understand, if you want out of the relationship, that it's like, well, it's not fun all the time. They don't like the same things I do. Okay, well, did you know that going in? Yeah, all right. So make sure that you are in it for the right reason and out of it for the right reason. That is what I have for you today. I know I went super long here, but this is so important. This is the rest of your life. If you're going to complete a relationship, then make strides towards that. If you're going to be all in on the relationship and maybe you're the one that's been wrong, maybe you're the one that has been checked out for a year, 5 years, 10 years, you've been in love with your work. You've been in love with your religion. I know people have been in love with religion and they forget their family. They forget their significant other because religion is number one and not their significant other. They're kind of like, if I got time, maybe I'll spend some time with you. I'm saying this because I truly love you. I have not met you, but I love you because you're a human. And so much of our lives, we're living in fear. We're living in fear of what other people will say. We're living in fear of perceived pain when we're already living in pain. It's that leaving that Band-Aid on, and like you leave it on for 2-3 weeks. It's getting old and crusty, and it's like, should I pull this off? Oh my gosh, there's like glue on here, pulling it off little by little, pulling the hairs up. Or you just have someone, a friend of yours, saying, what's that old Band-Aid on there? Rip! Pulls it right off. That pain is going to be similar, but having it taken care of right away is much better. It's like going to the dentist and saying, how long is it going to take to extract this tooth? He said, well, I can either do it in about 5-10 seconds, or I can take my time, take a half hour if you want. It's the same price. It's the same price whether you do it fast or slow. You're gonna face that pain, that challenge, that growth, that expansion, that loss of love, that regaining of love, that reframing of love, that accepting of yourself. So be in for the right reasons. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. If you feel like you want to share something with me, you can always send me an email at the letter M at ascend, ASYND.net. It's the letter M at ascend.net. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate you as a listener. I've got some episodes I'm just really excited of how many of you have been downloading them, how many of you have been ingesting these, and you're telling me about how it's changing your life. So thank you so much for being a listener for this program.